Good evening. This is All India Radio and I'm Meenakshi Sant and with me is Aditi Lumba with the evening news. The headlines. Government reassures about safety and efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines. Maharashtra, Punjab, Karnataka, Gujarat and Chhattisgarh report steep rise in COVID cases. Filing of nomination ends for single-phase assembly elections in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry and for the third phase in West Bengal and Assam. Lok Sabha passes Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill. Defence Ministry inks contract with Bharat Dynamics Limited for nearly 5,000 anti-tank guided missiles for the Army. 10-day Indo-Pakistan field training exercise culminates at Rani Cape in Uttarakhand. US Defence Secretary Lloyd J. Austin arrives in New Delhi. India's Nikhat Zareen stuns two-time world champion Nazim Kazabay of Kazakhstan enters semi-final of Bosphorus boxing tournament. And in All England Open Badminton Championships, PV Sindhu to take on Akane Yamaguchi of Japan in women's singles quarter-final. Lakshya Sen crashes out in the men's singles quarter-final. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now, the news in detail. The government today reiterated that COVID-19 vaccines are safe and there should be no doubt on their efficacy. Replying to supplementaries during the question hour in the Lok Sabha today, Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Harshvardhan said that any vaccine undergoes rigorous scientific trials and expert scrutiny at national and international level before it is administered. The Health Minister said minimal side effects have been reported with regard to COVID-19 vaccines in the country so far. He urged the people to come forward to take the COVID-19 vaccines.
लगभग 3.5-4 करोड़ लोगों को डोजेज लग गई हैं, जिसमें अगर आप साइड इफेक्ट्स देखेंगे तो 0.000432 ये वैक्सीन के बारे में भारत का ये साइड इफेक्ट है। इसलिए जो चीज साइंटिफिक स्क्रूटनी और विश्लेषण से बाहर आती है और जब उसका इस्तेमाल होता है, इतने सारे दुनिया में एक्सपर्ट्स उसको सारे बातों का ध्यान करके करते हैं। हम देश के लोगों को भी ये कहना चाहते हैं कि वैक्सीन के बारे में कोई अपने मन में किसी भी प्रकार का भ्रम न रखें और आपको जो सुविधा उपलब्ध कराई है, भारत सरकार ने उस सुविधा को अपने निकट के सरकारी या प्राइवेट अस्पताल में जाकर और एक फोन से अपनी बुकिंग कराकर आप उस वैक्सीन को लीजिए, अपने को सुरक्षित करिए, अपने मित्रों को, अपने परिवारजनों को, समाज में सबको सुरक्षित करने का काम करिए.
Over 3 crore 93 lakh vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far. The Health Ministry today said that in the last 24 hours, more than 22 lakh 2,000 people were inoculated with COVID-19 vaccine doses. The country saw a spike in reported cases, taking the total number of new infections to 39,726 in the past 24 hours, taking the cumulative positive cases to over 1 crore 15 lakh. The Health Ministry said 154 deaths have also been reported during the last 24 hours, taking the toll to over 1,59,000 across the country. The country's COVID-19 recovery rate is 96.26% at present, with a total recovery of more than 20,000 patients in the last 24 hours. Currently, the number of active cases is over 2,71,000, which comprises 2.36% of the total positive cases.
The government today said that Maharashtra, Punjab, Karnataka, Gujarat and Chhattisgarh are reporting a steep rise in the daily new COVID cases. Maharashtra reported the highest daily new cases at 25,833. It is followed by Punjab with 2,369, while Kerala reported 1,899 new cases. The Health Ministry said the centre is actively engaging with all state and union territory governments, especially those showing an upsurge in daily new cases and high caseload of active cases. The ministry said States and union territories have been advised to improve testing in districts, reporting reduction in testing. They have also been advised to carry out an average close contact tracing of minimum of 20 persons per positive case in the first 72 hours, along with isolation and early treatment of the serious cases. In order to curb the rapidly increasing coronavirus cases across Maharashtra and Mumbai, the state government and the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation (BMC) today issued fresh set of guidelines. This comes a day after Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray had asked divisional commissioners to ensure that restrictions announced to curb the spread of COVID-19 are implemented strictly. Meanwhile, till yesterday, a total of 38,40,707 people have been vaccinated against COVID-19 in the state. A report from our Mumbai correspondent.
To contain the spread of the infection, the Maharashtra government has rolled out new guidelines applicable till 31st March. According to the new guidelines, all drama theatres and auditoriums in the state will operate at 50% capacity and no entry will be allowed without proper wearing of masks. Theatres and auditoriums will not be allowed to use for religious, social, political, cultural gatherings and meetings. All private offices except related to health and other essential services will function at 50% capacity. In case of government and semi-government offices, the government has asked the department heads to decide on the required number of staff. However, the manufacturing sector can function at 100% capacity by increasing the number of shifts to ensure social distancing. Sweetie Jain, AR News, Mumbai.
In Rajasthan, corona infections have increased rapidly in the last 1 week and the positivity rate has increased thrice. More than 300 COVID-positive cases have been reported daily in the last 2 days. Also, the number of active cases has increased to more than 3,000 in the state. The News Services Division of All India Radio, in its bilingual live phone-in program tonight, will bring you a special discussion on COVID-19. This can be heard on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:30 p.m. onwards. Dr. Sanjeev Kumar from AIIMS Patna will participate in the discussion. Listeners can ask questions to the experts on toll-free telephone number 1-800-115767. You can also ask questions on the telephone number 011-2331-4444 and post queries on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts by the hashtag AskAIR. The process of filing nominations closes today for single-phase assembly elections in Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Union Territory of Puducherry and third-phase assembly election in West Bengal and Assam. Campaigning is gaining momentum in all states, particularly in constituencies going to polls. In the first phase on 27th March, 47 assembly constituencies in Assam and 30 assembly constituencies of West Bengal will go to polls in this phase. In the second phase, polling will be held on 1st of April in 30 constituencies of West Bengal and 39 in Assam. In the third phase, 40 assembly constituencies of Assam and 31 in West Bengal will go to polls on 6th of April. On the same day, 140 assembly constituencies in Kerala, 234 in Tamil Nadu, along with 30 assembly constituencies in Puducherry will go to polls. Polling for by-election to Kanyakumari Lok Sabha seat in Tamil Nadu and Malappuram Lok Sabha constituency in Kerala will also be held simultaneously. In Assam, State BJP President Ranjit Kumar Das, Senior Ministers Himanta Biswa Sarma and Chandra Mohan Patwari filed their nominations for the third phase. For Congress, Rakibuddin Ahmed and Jatin Mali, senior BPF leaders and ministers, Pramila Rani Brahma and Chandan Brahma are also in the fray. AIUDF, UPPL, Assam Jatiya Parishad have also filed candidates in the third phase. For Assam Gana Parishad, Minister Phani Bhushan Chaudhary submitted the nomination paper. Meanwhile, with few days left for the first phase of polling, both BJP and Congress are holding series of political meetings to woo the voters. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi attended a student interaction meeting today at Lawal of Dibrugarh district before he interacted with tea garden workers at Chabua Assembly constituency. Mr. Gandhi is expected to attend political campaign rally tomorrow in the districts going to polls in the first phase. The election manifesto of Congress party will also be released tomorrow in his presence. Congress star campaigner Priyanka Gandhi will also make a two-day visit to Assam ahead of the first phase polls in Assam. Senior BJP leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who already commenced campaigning in Assam, will address a political meeting tomorrow in Chabua Assembly constituencies. Besides the star campaigner of BJP party, including Home Minister Amit Shah, National President JP Nadda,
CM of UP are busy in the campaigning trying to woo the voters. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also visit West Bengal tomorrow. He will address rally in Kharagpur. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said in his speeches he will elaborate on BJP's development agenda. He said it is clear that both states, West Bengal and Assam, want to elect NDA in the upcoming polls.
News just in. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd James Austin III called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi today in New Delhi. The Prime Minister outlined his vision for the strategic partnership between both countries and emphasized the important role of bilateral defense cooperation in the India-US ties. Mr. Modi welcomed the warm and close relationship between the two countries, which is rooted in shared values of democracy, pluralism, and commitment to a rules-based order. He requested Secretary Austin to convey his best wishes to President Biden. Secretary Austin reiterated the U.S. government's continued commitment towards strengthening the bilateral defense relationship between the two countries. He expressed U.S.'s strong desire to further enhance the strategic partnership for peace, stability and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region and beyond. Secretary Austin conveyed greetings of President Biden to the Prime Minister. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd J. Austin arrived in New Delhi this evening and he will meet the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and other senior dignitaries of the government to discuss deepening the India-US major defense partnership. They will also discuss advancing cooperation for a free, prosperous and open Indo-Pacific region.
Continuing with election news, in Tamil Nadu, a total of 5,961 contestants, including 910 women and 3 transgenders, have filed nomination. Scrutiny of papers will be done tomorrow and names can be withdrawn till 22nd March. More from our Chennai correspondent.
Leaders of various political parties, after filing their nomination, have intensified their election campaign throughout the state. Public rallies, door-to-door campaigning, canvassing through social media have brought in a politically vibrant atmosphere in the state. The district electoral officers are busy in creating voter awareness for 100% polling. EVM and VVPAT machines have been dispatched to the assembly constituencies for checking and demonstration. In a related development, Chief Electoral Officer Satyaprada Sahu told media that more than 245,000 voters have been applied for postal ballot till now. This includes police officials, officials on poll duty, differently abled and senior citizens. With joy, this is R. Murthy, AR News, Chennai.
In Kerala, with just 19 days left for the assembly elections, all the major political fronts in the state are busy with their campaigns. More from our correspondent.
Candidates and leaders of LDF, UDF and NDA are active in election rallies, roadshows, public meetings and home visits. In the coming days, national leaders including the Prime Minister will visit the state. The LDF today released its election manifesto that promises to create 40 lakh new job opportunities, increase welfare pension to Rs 2,500 in phases and introduce pensions for housewives. Manifesto further promises infrastructure development of Rs 60,000 crore, world-class health and education sectors and no power shortage till 2040. Meanwhile, today was the last day to file nomination for assembly polls. The final scrutiny of the nominations will take place tomorrow. Mayusha for AR News from Thiruvananthapuram.
A BJP delegation today met the Election Commission in New Delhi and raised the issues of violence against BJP workers in West Bengal in the last few days and demanded deployment of central forces in the state. Speaking to media after the meeting, Party General Secretary Bhupendra Yadav said the paramilitary forces should be designated within polling booths to check voters' IDs. He said Party MP Arjun Singh's house and other workers were attacked in West Bengal. Mr. Yadav said West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee is running misinformation campaign and hurling false allegations against BJP leaders, especially the Home Minister.
Income Tax Department has stepped up its monitoring and is closely watching the cash movement during the ensuing assembly elections. The department had conducted search actions on 5 premises in Chennai last Tuesday. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts. चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
The Lok Sabha has passed the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill 2021. The bill seeks to amend the Minerals Development and Regulation Act 1957 and provide for removal of distinction between captive and merchant mines. The bill empowers the central government to issue directions regarding composition and utilization of funds maintained by the District Mineral Foundation. The bill provides that captive mines other than atomic minerals may sell up to 50% of their annual mineral production in the open market after meeting their own needs. Speaking on the bill, Mines Minister Prahlad Joshi said that it has been brought to reform the mining sector in the country.
Today is one of the most remarkable days in mining sector, which will be remembered in the years to come. Under the leadership of Modi, we are unshackling the mineral potential of the country. By this reform, 2.5% of the contribution of mining sector to the GDP, it will strengthen the state economy. By strengthening the state, country will become strong. When India becomes strong, it will help the entire world.
The Ministry of Defence today signed a contract with Bharat Dynamics Limited for supply of 4,960 Milan 2T anti-tank guided missiles to the Indian Army. The Defence Public Sector Undertaking will supply the missiles at a cost of 1,188 crore rupees. It is a repeat order of contract which was signed with Bharat Dynamics Limited on 8th of March 2016. The Milan 2T is a tandem warhead anti-tank guided missile with a range of 1,850 meters. These missiles can be fired from ground as well as vehicle-based launches. The ministry said this project will further boost the Make in India initiative of the government.
The second edition of Indo-Pakistan Joint Field Training Exercise, Exercise Dust Leg 2, culminated today after 10 days of mutual learning. The joint exercise began on 10th of this month. The training was focused on counter-insurgency, counter-terrorism operations in urban scenario, and sharing of expertise on skills at arms. Minister of Defence said in a statement that the exercise also provided an opportunity to troops of both armies to foster everlasting professional and social bonding. The exercise concluded with both armies exhibiting their combat power and dominance over the terrorist groups during the validation exercise. Baluch political activists have raised the issue of human rights violations in Balochistan province by Pakistani security agencies during the 46th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva. Secretary General of Baluch People's Congress, Wajah Siddiqui Azad, during the intervention yesterday drew the Council's attention towards the terrible human rights situation in Balochistan.
And now, here's a review of proceedings in the Parliament today, first from the Lok Sabha. The writer is Achinta Borwa of PTI. Mines and Minerals Minister Prahlad Joshi has said reforms in the mining sector would generate 55 lakh direct and indirect employment besides enhancing the mining activity in the country. He was replying to a 3-hour-long debate on the Mines and Minerals Development Regulation Amendment Bill 2021 in the Lok Sabha today. The minister said India produces 95 minerals and has the potential like South Africa and Australia, but still imports minerals like gold and coal. Later, the House passed the bill. Mr. Joshi said the changes in the law will help create employment opportunities and allow the private sector with enhanced technology in mining activities. According to the minister, the mining sector currently contributes 1.75% to the country's GDP, and through the reforms proposed in the bill, the contribution will rise to 2.5% and strengthen the economy. The legislation will help strengthen the auction-only regime and boost transparency in the system. In order to boost exploration, there will be review of functioning of the National Mineral Exploration Trust. The trust will be made an autonomous body. Private entities will also be engaged in exploration works now. Simplification of exploration regime will also be done to facilitate seamless transition from exploration to production. The major objective of the reforms is to generate huge employment opportunities, reduce imports and increase production by bringing large mineral blocks into auction. Earlier, participating in the debate, Saptagiri Sankar Ulaka of the Congress asked the government to constitute a joint committee for reconsideration and discussion on the bill. He suggested inclusion of tribal MPs and MPs from the mining affected areas besides representatives from the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Environment, Forest and Mines in the proposed committee. He said they were not against the mining operations, but were against the way the hasty auctions which you are doing. Vinayak B. Raut of the Shiv Sena said this would be the fourth amendment on this law since 2015. He alleged that the sector has witnessed a lot of irregularities and theft and said there is a need to bring proper control in the mine sector. Supporting the bill, Pinaki Mishra of the BJD said the Mines, Environment and Forest Ministries should work in synergy to promote the growth of the sector, as still there are lots of environmental related hurdles impacting the segment. Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs, Arjun Ram Meghwal said next week the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development Bill 2021 will be introduced in the Lok Sabha. Also, the Insurance Amendment Bill 2021 that seeks to raise the FDI in the insurance sector to 74% from the current 49% will be taken up for discussion. The insurance bill was passed by Rajya Sabha yesterday. A bill to modify the list of scheduled castes in Tamil Nadu was passed in the Lok Sabha today. Social Justice and Empowerment Minister Thawar Chand Gehlot, while replying to a debate on the Constitution Scheduled Caste Order Amendment Bill 2021, said the Tamil Nadu government has proposed certain modification in the list of scheduled castes by way of grouping of 7 castes which presently exist as separate castes. The move will benefit a large number of people in Tamil Nadu who have been raising the demand for long, he said. According to the bill, the Registrar General of India has conveyed concurrence to the proposed modification. Participating in the debate, Umesh Jadhav of the BJP said the bill will give justice to about 30 to 40 lakh people who have been raising the demand for about last 60 to 70 years. Rahul Ramesh Shivali of the Shiv Sena appreciated the central government to give justice to the people of Tamil Nadu and sought similar favour in granting reservation to the Maratha community in Maharashtra. He urged his centre to support the Maharashtra government's stand in the Supreme Court so that the reservation to the Maratha community could be given. G. Madhavi of YSR Congress Party, Vijay Kumar of JDU, Girish Chandra of the BSP and Virendra Kumar of BJP also took part in the discussion.
And now review proceedings in Rajya Sabha. Writer is Naminda Tiwari of PTI. Railway Minister Piyush Goyal has said the passenger train operations undertaken through the public-private partnership mode is targeted to bring a total investment of about 30,000 crore rupees. Ruling out the privatization of railway infrastructure, he said the government has plans to monetize its assets to generate the resources to boost the growth of the railways. He was replying to a question during the question hour in the Rajya Sabha today. He said railway plans to monetize assets including through eastern-western dedicated freight corridors after commissioning the induction of 150 modern rakes through PPP, station redevelopment, railway land parcels, multifunctional complexes, railway colonies, hills, railways and stadiums. The minister said asset monetization would help in generating more resources towards infrastructure creation. The Railways Minister said dedicated freight corridors are a separate corporate entity and the Railways is supporting them. In a reply to a query by the Leader of Opposition, Mallikarjun Kharge, about a proposal to merge 3 divisions of Gulbarga in Karnataka, Mr. Goyal said the Railway Board did not find it feasible. In a reply to another supplementary, he said for 7 routes dedicated to semi-high-speed passenger corridors, the government is talking to state governments. He said there has been good response from the Uttar Pradesh government, which is cooperating on the Delhi-Varanasi route, mostly elevated along the highways. Mr. Goyal said the railways generated 14.14 lakh man-days employment under the centre's Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan in identified districts of 6 states to expeditiously restart economic activities post-lockdown, Mr. Goyal said in a reply to another query. In a written reply to a question on estimated job loss or work loss, post-lockdown, especially for those indirectly dependent on the railways for their livelihoods, he said the ministry has not undertaken any such study. Earlier, as soon as the House met for the day, Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu urged the members to remain extra careful and strictly follow the coronavirus-related guidelines in the wake of rise in the number of cases in some states. Mr. Naidu further said MPs should take interest to see that common people too are guided properly. The chairman also urged MPs and their family members who are eligible to get themselves vaccinated. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, in a separate matter, said imported life-saving drugs, including those for spinal muscular atrophy disease for personal use, are exempted from basic customs duty, but they attract 5% GST. However, ad hoc exemption from goods and services tax on imported life-saving drugs are given on a case-to-case basis during exceptional nature, and when such a request is received, she said she gave the clarification sought by Vivek K. Tanka on the Congress during the zero hour earlier. The House took up discussions on the working of the Tourism Ministry. Members also raised several matters of public importance through zero hour, mentions and special mentions. And that's all in the Parliament Review.
In sports news, Indian boxer Nikhat Zareen today stunned two-time world champion Nazim Kazabay of Kazakhstan to enter the women's 51 kg semi-final at the Bosphorus boxing tournament in Istanbul, Turkey. Zareen registered a 4-1 win over Kazabay, a gold medalist from 2014-2016 World Championship. Zareen had earlier defeated 2019 world champion Ekaterina Paltseva of Russia in the pre-quarterfinals. Zareen has ensured herself at least a bronze medal with a place in the last four. In All England Open Badminton Championship, Indian shuttler Lakshay Sen lost to his Dutch rival Mark Kallio in men's singles quarter-final match this evening. Lakshay lost the first game by 17-21, but fought back and won the second game 21-16. However, he lost the decider game by 17-21. In the women's singles quarter-final, PV Sindhu will clash with Akane Yamaguchi of Japan later tonight. Sindhu entered the quarter-final, beating Il Kristoffersen of Denmark 21-8, 21-8.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. National capital Delhi is likely to have strong southwest winds during daytime. Temperature will hover between 17 and 34 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature is expected at 24 degrees Celsius, while maximum is expected to be around 32 degrees. Chennai is expected to have mainly clear sky. The temperature will vary between 23 and 33 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will have partly cloudy sky. The city is likely to have minimum temperature of 25 degrees Celsius and a maximum of around 36 degrees. Srinagar will have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Temperature will hover between 5 and 19 degrees Celsius. Jammu will have mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature will be 16 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be around 30 degrees. Leh is expected to have partly cloudy sky with minimum temperature around -5 degrees and maximum will be around 10 degrees. Gilgit will have mainly clear sky. Temperature will hover between 5 and 22 degrees Celsius. Muzaffarabad is likely to have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Minimum temperature will be around 10 degrees and maximum may go up to 25 degrees Celsius. Dehradun will have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Minimum temperature will be 16 degrees Celsius and maximum will be around 32 degrees. Chandigarh will have mainly clear sky with temperature likely to hover between 16 and 35 degrees Celsius. Hyderabad is expected to have partly cloudy sky. Minimum temperature will be around 22 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be around 35 degrees. Ahmedabad will have mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature will be 22 degrees Celsius and maximum will be around 38 degrees. In some more news, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman today said that India has committed budgetary resources for resilient infrastructure and it is in the process of setting up a national bank for funding infrastructure investments. She was speaking at a virtual session organized by Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, CDRI, in New Delhi today.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasizes important role of bilateral defense cooperation in India-US ties as US Secretary of Defense Lloyd J. Austin III calls on him in New Delhi. Government reassures about safety and efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines. Maharashtra, Punjab, Karnataka, Gujarat and Chhattisgarh report steep rise in COVID cases. Filing of nomination ends for single-phase assembly elections in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry and for the third phase in West Bengal and Assam. Lok Sabha passes Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill. Defence Ministry inks contract with Bharat Dynamics Limited for nearly 5,000 anti-tank guided missiles for the Army. 10-day Indo-Pakistan field training exercise culminates at Rani in Uttarakhand. India's Nikhat Zareen stuns two-time world champion Nazim Kazabay of Kazakhstan into semi-final of Bosphorus boxing tournament. And in England, All England Open Badminton Championship, PV Sindhu to take on Akane Yamaguchi of Japan in women's singles quarter-final. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.